In the high-stakes race for global power and military dominance, there's an invisible threat lurking above the clouds, one that could ground Western air forces overnight. It's not a new missile or a cyber weapon, but a single extraordinary metal, titanium. Not gold, not oil, titanium. This metal is the backbone of modern military aviation. It's strong, incredibly light, and able to withstand the extreme stresses of supersonic flight and combat. Without it, the advanced jets and stealth bombers that define Western air superiority would be little more than museum pieces. Yet, control over this vital resource is concentrated in just a handful of nations. Russia, China, and Kazakhstan dominate the world's titanium supply, creating a strategic vulnerability that few outside defense circles truly recognize. If these countries decide to restrict exports, the consequences for Western militaries could be immediate and severe. The West's military edge, its ability to project power and defend its interests, rests on a global supply chain that can be weaponized at any moment. Every fighter jet, every armored vehicle, every missile system relies on titanium parts that travel thousands of miles before reaching the battlefield. While we invest trillions in cutting-edge hardware and train elite forces to operate them, we often overlook the most basic ingredient. The reality is, we don't control the supply of the very metal that makes our technological advantage possible. Titanium's journey from raw ore to precision jet part is long and complex. Each stage, mining, refining, forging, can be disrupted by political tensions, trade wars, or even a single government's decision. And right now, our geopolitical rivals dominate these critical stages. What started as a matter of economic convenience, outsourcing production to save costs, has quietly evolved into a national security risk of the highest order. The West's dependence on foreign titanium is a vulnerability that grows more dangerous with every passing year. Today, November 8, 2025, the tremors of this looming crisis are already being felt. Headlines warn of shortages, defense contractors scramble for supplies, and governments quietly reassess their stockpiles. Nations with titanium reserves now see their control as a powerful bargaining chip, a tool to influence global politics and military balance. The world is waking up to the reality that whoever controls titanium controls the skies. The question isn't if this dangerous dependency will be tested, but when. Are we prepared for the day when titanium supplies are cut off, and our most advanced weapons are left unfinished or grounded? Our entire defense industrial base, decades of investment, innovation and training, hangs in the balance. Without titanium, production lines could grind to a halt, and the West's military might could be reduced to a shadow of its former self. All our investments in technology, all our years of training, could be undone by a shortage of this single, irreplaceable material. The consequences would ripple far beyond the battlefield, affecting economies, alliances, and the very security of nations. Titanium is the weakest, and yet the most critical link in our defense chain. If it breaks, the entire system could collapse. Recognizing this hidden vulnerability is the first step to securing our future. Only by addressing the titanium threat can we hope to keep Western skies safe and our military edge intact. Titanium is often called the miracle metal of modern defense, and for good reason. Its unique combination of properties has revolutionized the way militaries design and build their most advanced equipment. As strong as steel but only about half the weight, titanium is the backbone of today's fighter jets, bombers, and military transport aircraft. This remarkable strength-to-weight ratio allows engineers to create airframes that are both incredibly tough and exceptionally light, giving our aircraft the edge in speed, maneuverability, and fuel efficiency. The F-35 Lightning II, the stealthy B-21 Raider bomber, and the massive C-17 Globemaster cargo plane all rely on titanium components to achieve their impressive performance. Titanium's resilience ensures these aircraft can withstand the extreme stresses of combat and high-speed flight, while also reducing maintenance needs over their service lives. In the depths of the ocean, titanium's natural resistance to corrosion from saltwater enables submarines to dive deeper and operate more quietly, capabilities that are absolutely crucial for stealth and survivability in hostile waters. On the surface, warships benefit from titanium's durability as well. It extends the lifespan of critical components, boosts reliability, and significantly cuts down on costly maintenance and repairs, keeping fleets mission-ready for longer periods. On land, ground vehicles and battle tanks use titanium armor to provide superior protection for troops and equipment, all without the heavyweight penalty of traditional steel armor. This means greater mobility and faster response times on the battlefield. From the armored hulls of tanks to the wings of jets to the pressure hulls of submarines, titanium is woven into every facet of Western military power. Its presence is felt in nearly every advanced weapon system and vehicle. Without titanium, our forces would be heavier, slower, and far more vulnerable to enemy threats. The advantages it brings are not just technical, they are strategic, shaping the very way modern militaries operate. That's why titanium's strategic importance is absolute. Control over its supply and trade routes is a top priority for military planners and governments worldwide. Lose access to titanium, and we risk losing our technological edge. Engineers and scientists are constantly innovating to maximize its potential, knowing that it underpins the most advanced military technologies. That's why ensuring a secure, reliable supply of titanium is a matter of national security. It's not just a metal, it's a foundation of our defense and a key to maintaining military superiority in an uncertain world. Titanium starts as ore, ilmenite and rutile, deep in the earth. While these minerals are widespread, economically viable deposits are concentrated in China, Australia, and India. Mining is just the beginning. Refining ore into titanium sponge is the real bottleneck. China now leads the world in both mining and sponge production, with Russia a close second. The ore often travels across continents for processing, making the supply chain long and fragile. This global web is efficient, but a single disruption can sever the flow to the west. The titanium market is an oligopoly, dominated by China. China controls over half the world's sponge production, giving it immense leverage. Russia remains a key player, especially for aerospace-grade titanium, despite recent sanctions. Japan and Kazakhstan offer some diversification, but their output is dwarfed by China. This concentration means the West's access to titanium hinges on the decisions of strategic competitors. A crisis could see Beijing restrict exports, halting Western defense production. Monopoly risks are real. One nation can flood or choke the market at will. The West's military supply chain is only as strong as its weakest and most foreign link. The West's deep reliance on foreign titanium isn't just a coincidence. It's the outcome of a long, deliberate process that's unfolded over decades. This dependence is rooted in a series of economic decisions, policy shifts, and global trends that have shaped the modern supply chain. Producing titanium sponge, the essential raw material for high-performance metals, is both energy-intensive and environmentally challenging. The process requires vast amounts of electricity and generates significant waste, making it a tough industry to maintain under strict environmental standards. As environmental regulations tightened and production costs soared in the US and Europe, companies began to look elsewhere. They shifted manufacturing to countries where labor was cheaper, energy was more affordable, and environmental laws were less restrictive. This move allowed them to cut costs and avoid regulatory hurdles. The result? The last US titanium sponge plant closed its doors years ago. Today, every ounce of primary titanium used in the West is imported from abroad, leaving domestic production a thing of the past. At the time, this was seen as a smart, calculated risk, a way to boost efficiency and maximize profits. Outsourcing production meant lower prices for manufacturers and consumers alike. For years, the global supply chain appeared stable and reliable. The risks seemed manageable, and the benefits were clear: steady supply, lower costs, and access to a global market. But the world has changed. Today's geopolitical climate is far more unpredictable, with rising tensions and shifting alliances. Now, the very nations the West depends on for titanium have become strategic competitors, if not outright rivals. This shift has introduced new risks that were once unimaginable. The West's most advanced military technology, from fighter jets to satellites, relies on a supply chain that is largely outside its control. Titanium is a critical component in defense, aerospace, and high-tech industries. What once made perfect economic sense now poses a serious threat to national security. The West must now grapple with the consequences of its decades-long reliance on foreign titanium. Concentrated supply means concentrated risk. China could impose an export embargo in a crisis, crippling Western defense without firing a shot. Subtle threats loom too: quality manipulation or industrial sabotage could ground fleets and erode trust in our hardware. Integration with foreign suppliers exposes sensitive manufacturing secrets, accelerating rivals' military advances. Most critically, the West lacks surge capacity. In a conflict, demand for titanium would soar, but with no domestic sponge production, ramping up would be impossible. Production lines would stall for lack of raw material, not factory space. This is a true Achilles heel for Western security. The risk is not hypothetical, it's immediate and real. A titanium supply shock would devastate Western defense and aerospace. Production of F-35s, B-21s, and submarines would grind to a halt. Maintenance and repairs would stall, grounding aircraft and shrinking operational fleets. The economic fallout would ripple through the entire aerospace sector, costing jobs and innovation. Commercial aviation would suffer too, with delayed deliveries and lost market share. Prolonged shortages could shift the global balance of power, eroding the West's military edge. Adversaries with titanium access would surge ahead. The loss of a single metal could reorder the world's security landscape. Securing titanium means rebuilding domestic production. No easy feat, but essential. Government investment and public-private partnerships can jumpstart new, cleaner refining facilities. Diversifying supply is key. Partner with allies like Australia and Japan to build resilient, friendly supply chains. Recycling titanium scrap and developing a circular economy can provide a valuable secondary source. Invest in R&D for new production methods and alternative alloys to reduce dependence on virgin titanium. Finally, expand the national stockpile, enough to bridge any supply gap in a crisis. Regularly review and update reserves to match current threats. A robust stockpile buys time and deters adversaries from using embargoes as a weapon. These steps are not just economic, they're vital to national security. The time to act is now. The titanium story is a warning for the West. Our security rests on a metal controlled by rivals, thanks to decades of prioritizing efficiency over resilience. A supply shock would ground fleets and erode our military edge overnight. The solutions are clear. Reshore production, diversify supply, invest in recycling, and maintain a strong stockpile. These are national security imperatives, not just economic choices. The risk of inaction is immense. Hoping rivals won't weaponize supply is not a strategy. The real test is whether we have the will to act before crisis strikes. The future of Western security may hinge on whether we pay the price for resilience today or a far higher price tomorrow.